Just the other day, my daughter and I, my eldest daughter, we built this storage unit for our pool outside. All right, so it came in a box, and there's screws, and you have to put it together. That's what I was doing during that period of time. Now, instead of kid activities, Google, tell me, I involved my daughter. And it was the highlight of her day. I would even say it's the highlight of her week, building that with me. Now, again, as an adult, right? Most adults hate that too. It's like, I got to build this thing. It doesn't come put together. How horrible is that? Yet, she's never built something like that before. How exciting. Much more exciting than some activity she's done before. It's something new, and she gets to see into my world and connect with me through that activity. And we turned it into this epic and fun experience, right? I was showing her how we put it together. And a question, little side note that she's been asking me quite a lot this past week is, Dad, how do they build this? Dad, how do they build that for everything? Right, so she'll point to a light. How do they how did they make that light? That's the question. Or how did they make the windows here? How did they do that? How did they make this dresser here? And I would give her just general answers, right? Say it's the dresser. I'm like, well, it's wood that they cut from a tree, and then they have these planks, and they put them together with screws and nails. Simplified. And here she got to experience actually building it. And I could reference it. Look, we're actually doing what you were asking me about. We're putting this together with screws and nails. Look at that. And it's not just, and this is very important, me doing it and her watching, right? Because that's another trap. You hear this, you're like, okay, involve them in what I am doing. Okay, well, come watch me do this. Watch me work. Watch me build this. Watch me do this. No, involve them in it. Now, of course, there are some things that you're doing where maybe they can't be involved on a physical level. Sure, in which case physically they're there watching you do it. But in that case, you want to involve them mentally, meaning ask them questions about it. The same with me, say, building this thing. At first, I'm like, okay, do you think this is the right piece? Can you bring me even the manual? So she'll bring the manual. Can you look for the next piece? It has the number 6 on it. And she'll go look for the next piece. Now, that's still physical involvement. But say she couldn't do any of that, I would ask her, okay, do you think this looks good here? Is it well positioned? Even though I might know, it's like, of course it's well positioned. I'm still going to ask her. That's mental involvement. It's, what do you think of this? Do you think this is good? Does this look good to you? Should we do it like this or like that? She's still watching, but she's now involved in the activity. So whatever you're doing, involve them in it. Versus, okay, look at me do it. Or even explaining it. So here's what I'm doing, and then I do this, and then I do that. You see? Now, funny enough, even the question you see is to some extent involving them, because it requires like them participating too. But I did that. And it wasn't just me once more showing them, it was involving her. And towards the end, I even let her use the screwdriver a bit, and even the electric one where I'd hold it and she could press down on the button to put the screws in. And she loved that. Like, again, highlight of her day or week. She's like, I'm operating this thing. Oh my God. And I'm doing this one activity with my dad, and we are in sync and we are connected. This is amazing. And not just that, but it also, think self-esteem wise, what it does too, right? By me involving her, it communicates that I view her as someone who is capable of doing this, as someone who is competent, someone who I can trust with a certain task. Wow, look at that. My dad entrusts me with this task of finding the piece, of asking the question, is it well positioned? Does this look good? Is this right? Am I doing it right? Do you like this? He cares about what I think. He's not just walking me through it and just telling me. I'm not just the employee and he's the boss. I'm actually the boss too. Whoa, he respects me that much? Ooh, self-esteem wise, absolutely amazing, right? It's, again, getting a taste of independence in a way. And also stepping out of your comfort zone. Hey, that was out of her comfort zone to press the electric screwdriver. It was out of her comfort zone to build this. And this is also important because, especially with these stories of building things, I know for myself, growing up, it was never the most fun thing to do, right? To build things with my dad or to help him do something. Why? Because I was extremely scared of making a mistake, because he would get frustrated doing it. And if he's frustrated doing it and I make a mistake, it could come out on me. And I think there's even a meme online about this, right? It's like some kid holding the flashlight for the dad. It's like point the flashlight. Oh, like many people have memories like that where you're like, that was not fun. But you can change it into something fun. Hey, if she's taking risks like that, like there was even one point where I had the screw positioned. We put the drill on it and the screw fell, right? Like she moved it a bit and it fell. Now, no way am I ever going to get frustrated if I'm building something with her. If I knew that I might, by the way, if that's something that triggered me, I wouldn't involve her. But I knew that it wouldn't. Now, immediately she looks up like, and I'm like, hey, all good. It's okay. And that too, it's encourage risks. But when there's failure, quote unquote, celebrate it. Don't be like, what you draw? We have to pick it up again. We got to put it back. None of that. No, don't get frustrated. It's, hey, here's a crucial moment for her to ultimately cultivate a healthy relationship with failure. And unfortunately, a lot of people have a very negative core belief when it comes to failure, right? The belief is failure is bad. Failure is unacceptable. No, failure is part of learning. And that's what I can teach her and what I did in that moment. Hey, that's part of the process. That's why you practice. That too, the importance of practice. This is something we've actually been talking about a lot, the two of us, is, oh, well, how do you do this? Like, you got to practice. And she'll try something and it won't work. I'm like, well, yeah, that's the importance of practice. You do it again. And yeah, it doesn't work at first, but that's normal. Oh, it's normal. Hey, for anything you want to master, by the way, it requires practice and it requires failure. You can't stand straight without falling over first. And unfortunately, if you have a negative core belief around this, failure is bad, the way a lot of adults go about their lives is they're trying to walk without falling over. And what does that look like? Just lying on the floor. We go, oh, too scared to stand up because then I could fall over. Oh, I can't. Like, none of that. So a great opportunity to teach that in that moment. Something she might not have learned if it was just a simple like craft building activity that Google or ChatGPT told me to do. And do not judge or talk down in those moments. Just be relaxed about it. Again, the lesson is it's in the process, not the result. And what's more important in that moment? Is it actually the little storage unit that we're building? Does that matter more than this, than me and my own kid? No. Like, say she were to even do something that just destroyed the whole thing, so what? Well, why is that more important? Like, why would that ever cause you to yell or freak out or get triggered at your own kid? Again, why is that meme even a meme? Why is that even real? And taking it a layer further, throughout the whole process, it also allows me to show her how I do things and how I deal with things, right? For example, problem solving, like showing her how to build this, how there is a manual, how there are steps, showing her when even I make a mistake or when I'm like, I don't know if it's like this or like that. I show her how I deal with it. And I show her that it happens to me too. And that's the thing. If you're only doing activities like, let's do this little fun craft thing, it's hard to yourself be in a situation where you might be frustrated or stuck because it's a simple kid activity. But if you dare involve them in more grown-up activities that you're doing that are, of course, still age appropriate, to be clear, now you put yourself at risk where you might hit a dead-end road. And you might be like, oh, I messed up here. Wait, how do I do this? Let's go back. Let's backtrack it. Now, again, a lot of parents think, well, then they'll see weakness. No, they see strength, and it makes it relatable. They're like, oh, it happens to my parents too. So that means it's okay if it happens to me. It's part of being human.